I'll be back. Thanks. All right, good afternoon. Welcome back to the channel. I got a few exciting updates that I am really excited to talk about today. First and foremost, it is really beautiful this afternoon. It is just under 91 degrees, and quite frankly, it had been pretty challenging the last couple weeks to be able to get outside and enjoy a quick walk and stroll through the neighborhood and film myself talking. You might see me checking my watch a couple times as we go through the video as well. I finally figured out how to use this DJI Osmo for my phone, and instead of using the front-facing camera, I'm able to use the higher resolution camera, as this thing has auto tracking. So I'm just checking to make sure that I'm staying in the frame. So you might see me checking my watch from time to time. So I had quite a few pre-recorded videos, and as I was editing them this week, one of the things that's a little bit strange is I was editing a part of the video and it was talking about us getting ready for our grandson to come. And by this point, our grandson has been here for 6 weeks, and it felt a little strange to put out such a outdated video when so many good things have happened. So I decided that I'll film a new fresh walk and provide a few updates on why I haven't been able to do quite a few things. I haven't put out a video for a while from other YouTube channel either. But we welcomed our grandson and helped our daughter the best we could in that endeavor. He is now home, thank goodness, after a couple weeks in the NICU, but he is healthy and just full of joy. And, if you haven't had a young baby around you in a while, they can be such great sources of inspiration. So this has been really fun, and my kids are all older. So having a little baby around has been cool. Been a lot of fun. So that's a great update. Secondly, that's why I'm going to shoot some fresh content versus editing some of the older stuff. And then third update, that I finished the book. So thank you for everybody that I was able to ask, and thank you to everybody that I was able to ask and get support from to be part of my first editing team. I thought that was really, I really appreciate that. I know that's a really big ask, as this was not a small project. I think this first draft is just around 36,000 words. And so that's a pretty big endeavor to take on. So if you're on that team, just know that I know how much of an ask that is. And thank you very, very much for willing to do that. But that's an update. So that happened. For today's video, I really wanted to talk about 3 topics that's been kind of fresh on my mind, is if I had a chance to be home. That's another update. So this is the first time in my career, I think I said in another video that I've been doing this for about 20 years, that I've taken time off work, to tend to a medical need or take care of my own health. Nothing too serious, but definitely something that I needed to be able to dedicate the energy and attention to be able to take care of. And I've been able to do that for the first time in 20 years. And it's been good. It's allowed me to kind of think, reconnect to some parts of my creativity and curiosity that, going through the day-to-day things at work and being a father and a husband, that we can easily sometimes forget. So this has been awesome, but I am looking forward to getting back to work. But I'm also happy that, for me, I wanted to figure out a way that I could still provide and make an impact. And, one of the things that I enjoy about my job is being able to connect with, different leaders, different up and coming professionals, and just being able to offer a little bit of perspective to help people on their journeys. And I find that these walk and talks have really allowed me to do just that. Since I've been home, though, I also had some time to jump into some creative endeavors. So I've gotten back into the studio a lot more. So that's been quite enjoyable. I've always found that that's when I'm at my fullest self, And, I believe that it is very important that for each of us that we protect and find that time to create. I think, if we can introduce our children to music at an early age or any form of art, it's the first way that you really get to experience taking something from your imagination and transmuting it to a physical space or a three-dimensional space. And if you can get really, really good at that at a young age, by the time you're my age or older, you're able to manifest even more powerful things. And, it's our imagination that's allowed us to have some of the technology and luxuries that, we often take for granted. I mean, I even think about the contraption I'm using to film this video on, this shot on an iPhone that somebody imagined using a device that, somebody imagined to be able to use the iPhone's technology to track the subject, which allowed me to really focus on being able to speak. And, I don't need another person standing in front of me filming this. Like, I'm able to do this all on my own. And that was somebody's imagination. So I just always felt that music is one of the easiest ways that we get to experience taking something from imagination and putting it into a three-dimensional space. And even more impressive, and why I love music is, music is a vibration on itself. So it's just a really great way to communicate the way we feel and express emotion. But thank you for allowing me to ramble and provide a quick update for the main topics of today's video. So something that's really been on my mind. I've been thinking a lot about emotional intelligence, and there's a lot of great resources on that hopefully I'll remember to plug in. But I want to talk specifically around how to go in from a negative frame of thought to a positive frame of thought. Second topic I want to delve a little bit deeper into as we lead, another new generation hitting the workforce in droves. I feel like, I've been around long enough to where I've seen it with my generation, but we always make a big fuss around like how disruptive this new and upcoming generation of workers are. One of the things that I think that I found consistent is really how to have that conversation and how to be inclusive to bring them on to work. As a young leader, I often remember being told by several of my older coworkers or friends that I was young and naive. And, it's a little bit frustrating when you're trying to figure out your way through the world. And I think there's more inclusive ways that we can do that. So I want to have that discussion. Good afternoon. And then lastly, I want to provide an update on where we are with the book. I told you that I finished the book. So I wanted to share a few takeaways and what it was like to go through that process. I believe on my last episode, I talked about the importance of, if you have a project, just to start it, whether that's writing down the name of a chapter. So, whether I get the book fully published or not, the fact that I was able to write down my thoughts and capture these lessons was something that I would like to share with the channel today. I want to talk about emotional intelligence and what that topic really means to me. And in a nutshell, there's a lot of great resources. There's a really good book called Emotional Intelligence 2.0. I forget the name of the author, but it is a great resource. I'll try to drop it in here. But I think in the simplest terms for me, emotional intelligence comes down to an individual's ability to be able to ask themselves why they're feeling a negative emotion before conveying it to the universe. And I don't think that it's inappropriate to express how someone feels publicly. There's definitely situations that, you need to communicate a boundary or I think explain why you're feeling a certain way. When you're in a work setting or a teamwork setting, a setting where you're sharing a space with other people, one of the things that we have to remember as humans is ambiguity or a lack of clarity breeds negative thoughts. And I don't remember where I heard that, but I've heard that quite often. And that's a phrase that's always resonated with me because I find it true. If you walk into a room and everyone is looking at you, it's super easy to assume that they're looking at you for, negative reasons and be a little bit subconscious. But if you know you're glamorous, right, you put in a lot of work and you're confident about the effort, and when you walk into the room, those same looks can be received with such appreciation. I would say in a lot of situations I found myself in when I've been frustrated, whether I'm frustrated as a consumer, when I've had like an explosive reaction, it wasn't just that was, why I had that reaction. Like it's something that was built up, right? It's been a series of things that I've perceived as being misfortunate events or things not going the way that I wanted them to, and being able to stack up. And you just get the smallest thing that you expect that should go your way, and it doesn't. It can be easy to let out a burst of frustration. And I found that in my 20 years of working with the public, 99% of the people you meet are great people. And when you meet a bad one, it's not even that they're a bad person, they're having a really bad day. They might even be having a bad month. Emotional intelligence is being able to pause and consider that for a hot second, that everything is not happening to you. People are just looking out for themselves and they have their own set of baggage. And I would say, as a person that's been in service to this community for a long time, that is probably one of the biggest takeaways that I've learned. Like, I've been able to bring customers down from a 20 to a 0 just by asking them a few thoughtful questions, but also making sure they understood that, A, we had the same goal. I wanted them to leave happy. And B, I understood where they were coming from. Emotional intelligence is that ability to remove yourself from a situation and be aware that they're not even yelling at you, and most times they're yelling at the situation. They're yelling at the organization that you're paid to represent in that moment. And that's a lot of the frustration, where they can't actually yell at the person who's going to be able to make the decision. So you're the person that they're going to take that frustration out. And if just one party in that conversation has emotional intelligence, usually, in my experience, I haven't had very many that we wasn't able to handle with one party member having great emotional intelligence. And that's de-escalating the situation. So if that's a newer topic, or a topic that you haven't heard, and if you're early in your professional career, or earlier in where you're going to be working with people, potentially leading people, it's a great opportunity just to start doing some research around what that topic is. And being able to develop techniques that can quickly help you go from a negative thought to a positive thought. Because every human has negative thoughts initially, in my opinion, and that's normal, right? But if you vocalize them without asking a few questions, because oftentimes you're going to realize those negative thoughts are unfounded, and they're playing on your personal insecurities, things that you feel about yourself. And I will tell you, that's been 99% of the times when I find myself really, really frustrated. It's A, because of something that I'm personally insecure about, or B, it's something that's so unaligned with my value set. But I have to be the one that asks myself why, and I can't expect others to be able to guess. And so if I am frustrated and it's around my value set, have I communicated that to the people I care about, that I want to keep close? Or do I kind of harbor that and let it become even more frustrating? Or I recognize that it's a me issue, and then I got to go work on it internally. So just food for thought, something I was thinking about. I think emotional intelligence is something that's a really, really, it's a skill that we don't talk about a lot. It's a skill that's really hard to develop, and the only way that I can think to develop it is, again, by being around other people, having great conversations, and then just reading different perspectives. And if you can shorten that time frame to go from really frustrated to a place of positivity, there's really nothing you can't accomplish. I used to always tell my team that as you move up in organization, you're really just compensated to have fewer bad days, because we're all human. We're all going to have bad days. But if you have a bad day once a week, you probably shouldn't be leading people. And it's nobody's fault. It's not saying that you're not deserving, but you have to figure out how to take that bad day a week and reduce that down to one bad day a month. And then if you can have, 1 or 2 bad days of work a year, well, now you're able to lead large organizations. But people want to be led by people that are going to be consistent and balanced. And, we don't want a overly emotional leader, because humans are overly emotional creatures. I can have 100 different emotions within 60 minutes, and that's okay. But it's being able to pick up which ones to react to, because that's living, is being able to experience all the sensations of our environment and being able to take that in. So my thoughts on emotional intelligence, I don't know how much of that I'm going to keep. It's a little toasty outside, but I will tell you it is still a lot nicer than it's been any other day this week. So I do feel like this is the best day to get out and shoot this video. So second topic I want to talk about, one of my favorite books that I've read the last couple years. I want to say I picked this book up, and I've read it 3 times since then, but the first time I read it was in 2020, maybe 2021, so sometime during the pandemic. But a book called The Multiplier Effect by an author named Liz Wiseman. And it was probably one of my favorite books, probably one of my favorite leadership books still to this day. It really kind of changed my leadership philosophy, quite a bit from where it was. But it's a section in the book where she talks about, multipliers don't tell people what to think, they tell them what to think about. And there's a couple examples that she gives throughout the book that I thought was really, really powerful. And I think this is a really powerful approach as we're thinking about welcoming any new generation. If you're thinking about welcoming any new team member, as humans don't want to be told what to do. And if you really think about it, nobody really loves to be told what to do. And this idea of telling people what to think about versus telling them what to think, I think it's a really, really powerful distinction. And I want to give you an example. I used to work in some old school retail environments, and I've had leaders, regional directors say, "Hey, we don't pay you to think, we pay you to execute." And they're telling you, "I'm not asking you to think about this. Here's step 1 through 50, and laid out. Do it just like the picture." One of the companies I work for, we even coined it JLTP, just like the picture. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? I have a specific vision, and I'm not hiring you to do that. I'm hiring you to execute this vision exactly as I'm calling it. And that way can be very, very effective in getting some things done, but you have to be really, really clear on that from the onset. If you approach things from a different perspective, and usually when you're hiring leaders, this is the approach that I would think about taking. You're usually hiring people who have led teams, and you want to bring all that intelligence, all that experience onto your group. I want to tell them what to think about. Telling them what to think is saying, "Hey, I need these 3 things done every day. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I need it done this way." Versus, I hire a leader. How would you grow the business? And if you could grow the business, what would be your targets? I don't want to put my limitations on them, but I want to get them thinking about, that's what I'm hiring them for. I am hiring you to grow this business. So something that seems like it could be a small difference is actually a pretty significant difference in just how you allow an individual's intelligence and ideas to be free-flowing in helping you solve or accomplish goals. And I think as a leader, it's important to be really clear on when we need to be telling someone what to think, because we have a very specific way we need something done, versus framing a problem and telling them what to think about. I often find myself being more comfortable in framing challenges for individuals and seeing how they'll go about solving them. I always had a thing that I wouldn't want to work for 20 people just like me. Like, that would be an awful experience. A whole bunch of jacked up people running around on 20 is probably not the best environment for anybody. To have a whole bunch of them running around would be a little bit much. So I'm always very curious to see how other people are going to approach problems. And if I've done my job right and I've asked really thoughtful and intentional questions in an interview, I've kind of learned what type of intelligence and experiences that individual is going to bring to my team. And I look for opportunities to invite that in every moment that I can. And I find that, when you talk to your team about your objectives, you talk about the business, all I talk to them about, like we're at work. So, I share personal stuff. I'm a vulnerable leader, but usually if I'm having a conversation, it's about something I'm trying to solve at work, whether it's how do we grow revenue, how do we grow a particular part of the business, how do we, grow customer satisfaction in an area, how do we deepen customer loyalty, how do we deepen team engagement, and those are just topics that I talk about. And because I talk about them, I find my team talks about them. And I think that's a very powerful transition. The team's going to talk about work one way or the other. Your team's going to talk about work one way or the other. They're having a conversation about you one way or the other. And I've always wanted to understand, what are the conversations about? And if we can make the conversations about, these are the challenges that we're talking about, because we're always included with the big work, versus my leaders don't talk to me about the business. So the only thing I got to talk about work is the little bitty stuff that, kept us occupied throughout the day. And that's where drama can happen. That's where personal things, start off with really well-meaning intentions. But because it's a work environment and personal things start to mix, people have different opinions about how they live their lives, et cetera, et cetera. And so I've always found that it's important that we talk to at least for my leadership style, and why it's important to bring our teams in on the work. I had a leader that told me, regional vice president, and this was early on. I was probably like 18 or 19. And I remember him always saying, if you took care of people, the 15, the other, that's like 85% of the job, the 15% would take care of itself. And I have not found a statement to be more simple and more true. And if you bring the right voices, and not even the right voices, but you bring your team in on these conversations, it really transforms your culture really, really quick. And people want to show up, and they want to show up differently. So if you're having some cultural problems with your team, ask yourself what you're talking to them about. Is it about the big challenges that you face as an organization, and some of the same work you and your leaders or other managers or your management team is trying to solve? Do you find yourself talking to them a lot about base level things, whether that's base level things in the store or, base level things that's going on in their personal life? And there's a time and place for all of it. I definitely understand, and you have to be really in tune with your emotional intelligence as a leader to know when you need to kind of, check in and make sure somebody's at their best self. Sometimes you got to tell somebody, hey, you need to take some time off. And they might not be surrounded by people that'll tell them that. But that's not our only job as leaders, right? We're also want to help people get to more positive places. And I think, your supervisor at work plays a pretty significant role in how positive you can be at work. So yeah, definitely not the only thing, but having a boss that probably appreciates and understands that goes a really long way. So food for thought. It's a nice day, so I thought it was a good day to get out here and record a walk. And there's two things that's been on my mind lately. This idea of emotional intelligence. How do we really start to strengthen that? And the second idea is, inviting more people and framing the problem so they walk away with what to think about, not telling them what to think. And I would love to double click on that for anybody that would like to take that conversation any further. It's a very nice day. I'm glad I picked this time of day, just a little bit after 5 o'clock, so the sun is at least on its way down. Earlier when I tried to do this, the sun was high as all get out. But 89, 91 degrees, I can deal with this with a nice little breeze. The humidity has been nice. It's been a nice little stroll. So final thing that I wanted to provide an update on, talk about, was this process of learning a book, of writing a book. Actually, I'm looking forward to writing another one. It was such a fun and exhilarating process, and there's things that I'm like, I wish I would have thought about this early on, that I'm already eager to put into the next aggressive project and what that's going to be. But hey, I've had a lot more conversations and impacted a lot more people than I think I realize, and that was pretty rewarding as I got a chance to do some outreach, talk to different people that I've worked with, did some research on the people that I wanted to put in the book and use as some contrasts and examples. It was a really fun project, and just being able to go back and reconnect with people that I hadn't talked to in 10, 15 years, at least in that capacity. People I've stayed in contact with on Facebook, but haven't had a really detailed conversation. Yeah, it was pretty powerful. And so even if you're not writing a book and you haven't reconnected with some old friends or old coworkers, we live in that space where that's pretty easy to do. Reach out and see how they're doing. That was pretty eye-opening. So I thought that was a lot of fun. The second takeaway, I'm really excited about this, books kind of being these platforms to start movements. And, my intention on writing the book, I don't think I know any more than anybody else, but I do think my perspective is unique because it's mine and no one's lived my life. And so for anybody that's wanting to read it, it's going to be there. So I am just super excited that I had the energy to be able to take on such a big endeavor. Good afternoon. And like I said, I learned a lot. So big thing is just started. There's not a task too big. And, in today's world of information, there's so many great resources to help you do anything. I would tell you, my biggest paranoia was grammar and, putting myself out there, not really knowing if I was saying things the correct way. And, being able to have tools like Grammarly and, even ChatGPT, got some really great tools that can help you really kind of clean up and correct the grammar part is amazing. I was even able to use it as an analyzer that I found on ChatGPT. As I was going through my lessons, I was able to say, hey, can you give me a composing theory on this or opposing theory on this? And, on quite a few of my lessons, it shot back 4 or 5 different opposing theories or challenges that, readers might have as they read the content. And while it didn't make me change my stance on anything, it was just really great to kind of reflect, and it helped me know what areas that I wanted to double click on and maybe expand my explanation on as I was delving into more sensitive topics. So I just say all to say there's so many great resources. The only barrier people have today is time, right? Know-how, you can spend a couple hours on YouTube. If Coursera, you don't have to go to an accredited university anymore to take on some of these projects. And there's so many platforms that allow us to get our information and our content out. So that was probably my biggest takeaway, is that how easy it was once I got started. The hardest part was deciding to sit down and say, hey, I'm going to write a book. But once I got started the project in late February. I don't have a ton of time, so it's been an hour here, an hour there, a couple hours here on the weekend, but here we are, and I was able to get a really thorough first draft done in less than 6 months. And if I added up all the time I put into it, it's probably less than a month total of just dedicated writing if I did that for 40 hours a week. Hardest part was removing the barrier that I couldn't do it. So something on your mind, start it. Second thing is I'm going to start this movement. This whole book process, even our company our t-shirt brand that we're starting, Peepers, is around us moving into a place of positivity. So I want an army of joyful warriors. So as I do this walk and talk channel, as the book gets published, I want to hear people positive stories. I want to hear examples on how you go from, a negative thought to getting back to a positive place. I also want to hear examples of other leaders having positive impact on individuals, or individuals that have had a positive impact on your life. I think being able to have a network and share those examples and those stories for other leaders to come back and use as an example, maybe a team member that they're stuck with, or for anybody looking for a source of information or a source of inspiration. It can just be a massive network for something like that. But this idea of being a joyful warrior, and how do we just spread joy, peace, and love everywhere we go. I feel like when you're a positive person, you're in today's society, you can kind of be looked at a little bit as an oddball. And I wonder, like, how did we get there? So I want to normalize that, being positive, because yes, while there's definitely things that we can be frustrated with, the world's not perfect. There's a lot of things that we can appreciate every day, no matter where we are. I know this time of the month that the sun's gonna rise around 5:30 and 6:30 every day. Somewhere there's a spider making a web in a tree, and I just have to decide to go see it. I just have to decide to go look at it, but it's happening. It is happening. And some of those things happen every day, whether we choose to look at it or not. So if you find that your vibration is picking up a lot of negativity, put down social media for a little bit. There's nothing wrong. Take a mental detox, just like you would for your body. Gonna do the same thing for our mental vibration, but there's so much for us to appreciate if we just slow down and take an opportunity to do so. So that's what Joyful Warriors is going to be about. There's a whole bunch of positive individuals running around, spreading joy, positivities, getting back to speaking to your neighbor, saying hi to people in the grocery store. That little smile can go a long way in bringing joy to somebody else's day. Good afternoon. So how do we just spread a little bit of positivity everywhere we go? And listen, you might not always get a response. I speak to pretty much everybody I come in contact with. And I would say I get a response from about 65, 70% of people. Some people are just not in the mood to reply back, and that's okay. Because I'm focused on me bringing joy. And if I let other people's responses dictate how I show up, then I'm no longer a joyful warrior. So that's it. This one might end up being a longer video. I end up getting lost. I don't even know where I'm at. If you've ever been on a walk with me, you've probably heard me say that before too. I definitely don't mind getting lost on the walk. Good news is my legs don't run out of gas like a car. So we'll eventually find our way back to where we need to go. And this is such a great day. So, hey, if we get a really long video today, I'm just happy you were able to hang out with me for a little bit on this walk. And if you didn't get to catch the whole thing, that's okay as well. We might take some 3, 4, 5 mile walks some days. So some of these videos might get really long, and come join for the part you can and get off whenever you need to. That is okay. So there's some things while I'm ideating and walking, since we're just gonna let this one play out. As I grow the channel, I definitely have some ambitious goals. If you know me, I'm always thinking big. I try to always think a couple years into the future. But as we grow this camp of like joyful warriors, I think I mentioned in the first video, I would love to be able to go do some interviews with different folks. But I think as I hit different milestones, so as I hit 150 subscribers, maybe I'll invest into a drone. I will tell you, this is like a little bit of an exercise for the biceps. I didn't realize how heavy this phone would be in this pole, walking for 40 minutes. So definitely a little bit of workout. So if we get the channel big enough, we'll treat these biceps to, self-tracking drones, make the conversation a little bit easier. Second thing, I got some grief already on the channel for my hat selection. I love hats. I probably have 200 hats. So if you have a hat you want me to feature, you can email me. We'll talk. Because I do love hats. For my Cabela's people, y'all know how much I love hats. I think I have a ton of hats. I really just love hats of all style kind. So these are probably only ever going to be shoulders up. You're never going to see these little legs. So that'd be cool. And yeah, we'll see. Is it like grow? So my other YouTube channel has 1,500 subscribers, and I've only done about 50 videos in like 4 years. And one of the videos I was editing, I even made that as a quick joke. I'm like, you know, I'm either going to still be under 100 videos, which I still am, but they say you hate your first 100 videos. So this is like video 55, but I am going to post this a lot more frequently than the watch channel. Those are a lot more intricate and a lot of editing and lighting. These are just fun, and I don't have to do as much editing, unless if I say one of those things I'm not supposed to say. So it is always good to probably do a good playback. So yeah, we'll see. But we'll see where we can get to. It'd be fun to go fly out, meet some other positive folks doing some positive work in their communities. I want to hear all the joyful stories I can. But yeah, we'll see. I think that'll be fun. Again, if you have anything you want to dive into, I'm open to different topics. I had a really good message on the first video that I want to do a walk to talk about. Probably hit that one this week, just around like the importance of a leader to stay fresh and making sure that you're taking care of yourself as well. Really important. Kind of did a little bit of plug of that in this video. You know, first time taking some time off to take care of some stuff that I probably should have took care of a while ago. Thinking I'm invincible always, and you can make things a little bit worse. So I'm looking forward to getting back to a Hundo P. So I am looking forward to getting back on the marathon running. I'm in some of the best running events in the country, and haven't been able to take advantage of them as much as I like. So these last couple weeks has been great, helping me get back on the path to do that. I feel like my weight's back where it used to be, so I'm not as concerned. And I've been getting about 20 miles a week again. So my goal is to hopefully, I ain't gonna say hopefully, I will, get back to doing 10 miles a day. That'd be great. It's gonna be great when I get back to doing 10 miles a day. And maybe by then we'll have the channel where it needs to be so I can have a drone. We'll do some jogging chats, which is something I always wanted to do, just didn't have a lot of takers. So maybe we'll do it with the drone, nice little stroll, get a couple miles in every morning. But anyway, thank you for tuning in. I won't make you stay on for the rest of this long rant. I'm gonna enjoy the rest of my stroll back home because it is a wonderful night out tonight. Take care.